With the fender flares and spoiler finally installed, we are done with paint. It's time to move forward with the 2JZ swap. What's going on, guys? Brian back with Block Garage, and it's time to figure out what we're doing with this intake manifold. A couple videos ago, we got the 2JZ in and tried everything out. The intake manifold is hitting on the inner fender here. I don't want to cut into that or try to bash it in because we just painted that. We're going to think of another solution, and I believe I have an idea. But before we do that, I want to install a couple things to make sure my plan is going to work. So we got a couple parts here that I got from Godzilla Raceworks. They do a lot of Datsun 240Z, 280Z stuff. I picked up this coil radiator and this Mishimoto intercooler. We're going to throw these on the 280Z so that I know what I want to do to that intercooler is going to work. Let's pop this radiator out first and take a look at it. Now this is a direct fit radiator for an S30. It should pop right in. We shouldn't have any issues as far as fitting it in the car. We are obviously going to have to come up with some radiator hoses because this, we're putting a 2JZ in. The S30 radiator hoses are obviously not going to work, but it should drop right in. And this thing should be a very good upgrade over the stock radiator. That's why I wanted to put it in. That stock radiator, who knows how old it is. The car has, I'm pretty sure, a ton of miles on it. I found a sticker a long time ago when I was dismantling the car. Oil change sticker that had like 300-something thousand miles on it. I don't know if that's accurate, but it probably could be. We didn't want to stick with the stock radiator, especially where we got a boosted 2JZ going in. We need all the cooling we can get. So I picked up this coil radiator. Supposed to be a very good piece, and it's much thicker than the OEM radiator. So let's go throw it in real quick. I just noticed we got a sticker. You know we like stickers. Let's go throw it on the toolbox real quick. Now this should be a pretty easy install because the radiator literally just bolts right to the core support. It's just got 4 bolts. There's nothing to it. I don't know if I've ever had a radiator that was any easier to install than that. Fits great. Perfect, just need a couple bolts. Bolts right up. I mean, you probably could use the stock hardware, but I ain't using 50-year-old hardware at this point. So we got it in there. Yeah, look at that thing. Looks great. And I'm sure it'll be a great cooling upgrade over the stock radiator. It's much, much thicker. The core is much thicker. So, if I remember right, this is a dual pass radiator, I believe. I'd have to look that up. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure if you check Coil's site or Godzilla Raceworks site, they got details on it. Fits great. Let's throw the intercooler on, though, real quick, because that's the next step. All right, so I got this Mishimoto intercooler. I went with this one because, from what I see, I don't have any experience with them, but everything I see, it's a good mid-range intercooler, better than the cheap eBay ones, and stuff like that, but should work just fine for us if I can get it out of the box. And you can obviously tell I already looked at it once. I open pretty much all the parts when I get them, just because who doesn't like to see new parts? Car parts. Yeah. So this is a nice big radiator. I don't remember the dimensions. Let's grab a tape measure real quick. So the core of this is about 17.5 by 12 by 3. So it's quite thick. It's 3 inches thick. Should provide plenty of cooling for that turbocharged air. But from what I see, they aren't a huge pressure loss. Like if you get a cheap intercooler, that your pressure drop across, from the inlet to the outlet is massive. So we should be good there. And obviously the car didn't come with an intercooler from the factory. So I also picked up this Godzilla Raceworks bracket specifically for mounting this intercooler on the car. It comes with hardware already. However, I do have to drill holes for the intercooler because you can buy a few different intercoolers when you get this from Godzilla Raceworks. Normally, they drill this for you, but they wait to get the intercooler in so they make 100% sure that the holes that they put in it line up with the bosses on the radiator. I elected not to wait. I didn't feel like waiting. I can handle drilling a couple holes myself. So I'm gonna drill the holes to fit this intercooler on this bracket real quick, and then we'll go throw it in the car. All right, got those holes drilled, super easy. Now we need to install this on the radiator support, but I want to show you guys something. So part of the install is, in order to get this to bolt onto here, you need to install some riv nuts. And it comes with them in the kit. It comes with 2 riv nuts. And you just drill a couple holes and install the riv nuts. If you've never seen a riv nut, this is what it looks like. And this is the tool that you use. And all it does is when you put this in the hole, like say that, when you squeeze it like this, it pulls that up, which expands behind your piece of metal and holds it in there just like a rivet does. Then it has a threaded hole on the inside so you can wind a bolt into. You don't have to worry about holding the nut on the backside. If you don't have the tool, there is a way to do it with a bolt and a nut to get it to crush in there. By the way, if you go to GodzillaRaceworks.com, they have install instructions for this. Super easy to follow. And by the way, I did mention it comes with hardware to install this onto here. You do need a couple bolts to install it to your intercooler. And also I forgot. So you'll see this in the instructions if you go to look on Godzilla's website. Some of the cars, I think it's late 260Zs and 280Zs. I believe the 240Zs don't come with this, but there's a panel that's spot welded on top of the radiator support here. And basically it comes up at a 90-degree bend with a seal at the top, rubber seal, to fit against the hood and kind of try to deflect air down through the radiator instead of up over the top. If you're using Godzilla's bracket, you have to remove that. I obviously already did that, but because obviously I didn't want to do it after I painted the car. So we'll throw this on real quick, and your hood prop goes right here. I believe that's that's gotta be the hood prop. It's been so long since I took this car apart. I believe the hood prop goes right there, and this sits right there. I don't know if it's going to interfere with the hood prop. We might have to do something. I mean, to be honest, the hood sits up just fine without the hood prop anyway, but it'd be good, if it gets windy or something. So anyways, not going to worry about that. We're going to throw this in real quick. And you do need a couple washers underneath this side because this sheet metal goes down right there. Now this intercooler has technically a front and a back. One side has the Mishimoto logo, which goes this way. We're installing it upside down technically. So I'm going to use I'm not going to show the M logo on the front. We're going to install it this way. There we go. That is installed just like it needs to be. Now, we only have a bracket on the top. I don't have anything on the bottom, and technically you can install it this way because once you get your intercooler pipes on there, it will be pretty solid. However, I think I want to install some brackets on the bottom, and I figured I was going to do that. So before I painted the car, I put a couple riv nuts down here, and there's bosses on the bottom also to take a bolt. So I should have, what I do, yes, I got a few pieces of aluminum real quick. I picked up here some 1-inch wide stuff. We're just going to bend and cut a couple pieces of this down here and drill a couple holes. And I'll make a couple support brackets on the bottom. That way that thing doesn't wiggle at all. There we go. Super easy. Couple almost 90-degree bends. Drill a couple holes. Can't get much easier than that. Let's go throw them on the intercooler. That's what it looks like. I mean, you don't really get much simpler than that. She's nice and solid now. Nothing's going to happen. So I guess the next step is, one, we need to figure out exactly where the intercooler pipes are going to run, which is actually pretty easy on these because you got these holes right here. So the stock intake goes through right here. Air filter sits up here. We don't need to worry about that. Matches on the other side, although it's not used for anything from memory. But we're just going to basically take these intercooler pipes and go from here, 90-degree bend, into here, into the intake manifold. Over here, we're going to come out of the turbo, which will be somewhere like that. Turn this way, which we might have to do something with that. I might try and turn the turbo some. I haven't gotten that far, but anyways, it's going to come this way, right up through the hole here, 90-degree, into the intercooler here. It's pretty simple. Now let's check out for the radiator. So I got to see which way we're supposed to plumb this, but I don't know why we wouldn't do this. So output from the water pump is here. It's going to have to go forward down to here, through here, and it's going to come here into here. Now, this might not work. We might end up doing something different here because I'd have to, I mean, it would work, but it's going to look awful funny with a 90-degree bend and another 90-degree bend instead of just having this come off straight to there. But either way, that is not in the way of our intercooler piping over here, so we can easily see where we're going to run that and can now modify the intake manifold. I guess that's the next step, which means I need to learn how to TIG weld on aluminum. Yeah, I'm going to take some time and use these scraps here left over from making those brackets. I got another piece right here. Now this is not going to be a direct one-to-one of welding on the intake manifold because this is thicker than the sheet metal for the plenum. You know, this is thinner aluminum. This flange is really thick. These runners are, I'm assuming they're the same thickness as the plenum here. So it'll not be exact, but I can at least figure out how, I don't know, we'll see. Either way, I'm going to go practice learning how to TIG weld on aluminum. We'll go from there. All right, guys, I have been practicing TIG welding all day, and it is actually really enjoyable. Now that I have gotten started and all the mystery has gone away, I've got the technique down, I believe, at least the basics. I'm really enjoying it. So I'll just go over real quick some of my welds. That's pretty warm. I just welded on that one. So I started out with some, is that like 1/8 inch-ish mild steel. This was my first one right here. I've been numbering them and taking notes over there so that I don't forget what I've learned so far. But this was my first weld here. I mean, you got penetration, plenty of heat, but it's not very consistent. I dipped my filler rod in there a few times and got that stuck. But this is, what's this, number 7 right here? You know, that one looks really good. It did get a little too hot right there, but overall, you know, it's looking really nice. You know, my progression, this is the second weld. What's this, number 10 right here? It was a little cold down here, but down here looked perfect. Down here, I didn't clean up the metal all the way on purpose for this weld because I wanted to see what would happen because this stuff was really rusty, and you can see I got a whole bunch of porosity in it, so definitely need to clean the weld really good. But I'm really happy with that. And then I stepped over to aluminum, and I just got this 1/8 inch aluminum. This is actually the leftover stuff that when I made the brackets on the bottom of the intercooler. And if I had thought ahead of time, I would have waited on making those little brackets and welded them instead of bending them, get a little more practice. And now I'm confident enough that I could have done that pretty easily. So you can see the first one here was pretty good. Got a little hot at the end. I haven't quite got that down yet of what I should do to get rid of that excess heat at the end. But, you know, by the end here, this is my last one. I mean, that bead's looking pretty nice. You know, just dialing in the amperage and speed and everything, you gotta move a little faster on aluminum. However, I have an issue. My pedal is not working. So this was all done just with the button on the torch. No matter what I do, I can't get that pedal to work. It recognizes it. It will send out electricity, but it won't bring the amperage up enough to actually start a pool. So, or a puddle, or whatever you want to call it. So, I don't know. I've messed around with everything. I've looked online. I can't find any answers to that or comment. Must not be a common issue or whatever. I'm guessing the pedal is bad, which is a shame because I literally haven't used it yet. So I emailed the S-Welder to see what they suggest, see if it's an issue. I need to exchange it or something like that. But I'm confident enough with this aluminum that we can get started on that intake manifold to at least get it tacked in place. So let me pick up in here, get rid of this crap, and we'll move the car in and take some measurements and stuff, do some looking on that intake manifold, and probably cut it. All right, I threw the fuel rail on here real quick just so we can help figure out exactly how much we want to cut off. And I didn't want to cut this off and have the plenum way too close to the fuel rail, which it looks like we got plenty of room there and don't have to worry about that. So to get our throttle body on here, let's just say we throw that on there. We need to move it over at least 1.5 inches. Technically, we can do that because we got about 1 inch right here before the plenum starts hitting on this right here. This is just a little, I don't even know if you want to call it a bracket, that comes off there to hold the VVTi solenoid oil feed. Comes from the block down there. And I don't really need that there at all. And if I need to, I can replace that hard line with an aftermarket flexible line that would run up in here somewhere. This line here is a vacuum reference for the power steering pump so that it opens up the throttle blade just a little bit when your power steering activates if you're at idle. And we have a manual rack. We never are going to use that stock power steering pump because it will not fit with this. So no matter what, I don't need this. So this can go, this can be cut off. So we have probably, I mean, if we wanted to, we could move it in probably 2 inches. That's way more than we need, I think. So we got plenty of room, or at least 2 inches there, right? If we go 2 inches on here, we can't go 2 inches there because that would hit on here. Let's go back here, get a little more. I could go in probably 1.5 inches, maybe 1.75 inches. That's real tight. 1.5 inches we can probably do. Otherwise it hits off that standoff in there. So we got plenty that we can take off. Let's grab that off there, and I mean the first thing we need to do is cut those runners. So I guess let's do it. All right, I marked where we're going to cut these, the first cut on this side of the tape. I measured from the flange here on all of them to get them all exact or as close as we can. And this is going to probably seem a little strange, but I think I'm going to try cutting it with a hacksaw. I don't have anything else that can fit in there very good. Like my die grinder, trying to put that in there, just hits here. We're going to start going sideways. Now, I don't need to cut these 100% perfect because what I'm thinking is once we get this off of here, we can lay some sandpaper out on here nice and flat and sand it like this, just run it back and forth on the sandpaper to get these perfectly straight. But this will get us started, and then we'll figure out how much we want to actually cut off. No promises on this. I mean, this is just aluminum, so it should cut fairly easy. Yeah, like I'm barely doing anything. It's cutting right through. I wonder, you know what? I wonder if a cutoff disc on my 4.5 inch grinder might be better. I think I actually can get that in there fairly. Let's try this. I didn't even think of this before just now. If I had a bandsaw, that would be the ideal way to do it, but I don't. All right, apparently I forgot to hit record, but I did try out the 4.5 inch grinder with a cutoff disc on it. It works well, cuts easy, but I went back to the hacksaw, just more, I got more control, less, I don't know. Anyways, I preferred this where I'm just about through the first runner. It doesn't take that long. See, we're already all the way through. All right, I'm gonna keep going and cut the rest of those off. All right, I got that cut. It actually went pretty good. I ended up using my body saw. This worked really well and made it super easy. Now, like I mentioned, these probably ain't gonna be perfectly straight, which they are not. So, you know, obviously cutting like that, there's a lot of variance. It's really hard to keep it perfectly straight, although I think they're fairly good. This side doesn't matter right now. The flange side does. So I'm gonna take this, like I mentioned, I'm gonna grab some sandpaper. Let's throw it out on the desk and see if we can sand that off. Let's see how well this works. It's definitely taking it down. I can feel the difference just in how stable it is. We definitely want to get this as flat as we can to minimize gaps when we're welding. All right, got that all cleaned up. Cleaned up all of the powder coating around the edges because we obviously need that clean to weld. Let's go throw it on the car real quick. Looks like we got ITBs on there. We got to grab the intake manifold, though, the plenum half, and figure out how much exactly we want to take off. So, let me do some measuring. Oh, I popped off my fender and threw the throttle body on to see if we can do this with just moving this plenum over and have room for the throttle body and everything, and unfortunately we cannot. If I put this all the way in here, like shorten up the maximum amount, it still is going to hit on the inner fender there. So it doesn't do us any good to push that all the way in. So unfortunately, we're going to have to do this, shorten here, and cut off the throttle body flange and straighten that basically. So I am going to, do we want to do that first? Do we want to do that first? You know, it probably would be best. I think so. Probably be best. I'm going to cut this flange off now so we can get this where we need it and the throttle body flange where we need it. That way, yeah, that's probably the best idea. Make sure, because if we go and move this in where I think it needs to go, which is, I think I'm going to go about an inch, basically the width of the tape. I think that'll be enough, but I'd like to know for sure, you know, by the time we turn this. So, yeah. Ooh. I mean, I gotta do it anyway. Yeah, I think we'll cut this off right here. And, yep. I think we'll cut this off here too, and then we'll start working on everything. So I spent some time getting the flange cut off here. I got it bolted to the throttle body right now. I ground it down. It's nice and smooth or flat. I also trimmed down the runners here. Took about an inch off, like I said. So we're going to go, well, I've already test fitted it on there, but let's go, I think maybe tape that on there would probably be the good thing for now. I don't want to tack it on just yet. But let's see if we can't get some tape to hold that on there real quick. All right, I'm not real confident in this tape being able to hold it, but we're going to try it anyway. And you can see I've got plenty of clearance now between the strut tower and the plenum. So that is good. And this ain't going to be exact right now. I should have taken the fuel rail off. It's right in the way. Why didn't I think of that? Let's see if that's going to hold. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Should be fine. I mean, as long as we don't bash it, but if I put, I mean, even if I hit it a little bit, it's staying in place. It's not going to be perfect because the tape stretches a little bit, but let's grab my throttle body. And I am still not confident that this is going to be able to fit with the TPS sensor here. Because, I mean, that with that sensor, should not have put my arm down on that. I'm going to take that throttle body off and we'll retape this. All right, got that taped on there a little bit better this time. Hopefully we don't drop that again. So with that TPS sensor on here, on this side, when I put this down as low as it's gonna go, which is somewhere around right there, and it's hitting, I mean, look how far out we are. We're not even close. There's no way. Well, how close does this get us if we go? No, there's no way. There's no way. Let me try. I mean, it'll gain us a little bit because the connector for the TPS is pointing down. Let me try pointing it up because that doesn't really matter. All right, I flipped that over so it's pointing up now. How much does that gain us? I mean, we're going to be back there a little bit. Let me bring you guys over here so you can see a little better. So, I can't put, I mean, not that it would really matter, but I can't put the throttle blade, whatever you call this piece here for the throttle cable on that side because the bracket's here, although technically I could make up another bracket, but this is the way it's supposed to go. I don't know, I'm wondering, maybe. So, what I'm thinking right now is this plenum widens right here. It's pretty much it goes in a little bit right there, but here it goes in more. To get this cut straight, we're gonna be, we're gonna be right about here, right about basically where, yeah, right about basically where this is right here. Because this was angled out and down, we don't need that down at all. So what I'm thinking is, do we have enough room where this is, I still don't think so. I really don't. Because, I mean, we're touching right here. Realistically, we need to be over here to keep. If we didn't have that massive TPS sensor on there, or if they had it on there another way, I don't know. Let me think about it for a bit. All right, so one thing we can do, and I was debating this before, is mount this throttle body 90 degrees. That gets rid of both of the things on the side. I was also just looking, we could do it, you know, a 45-ish angle, because that moves this sensor away from being like this to down there. Keeps us closer to our bracket here. You know, if we go like this, we're gonna have to mess with this bracket here to get the throttle cable to come over this way. So the throttle cable is gonna kind of come this way and be a little weird, but we'll make something work. So I made a little, you probably may not be able to see that, but we're basically gonna take a pie cut out of this, a little more on this side, up to where we're not taking anything on this side. So I'm gonna go trim that real quick. All right. So I trimmed this off a few times. I did a few different pie cuts because I wanted to go slow, make sure I wasn't taking too much off and stuff. We got this tape back on there, and this still does not fit. That TPS sensor is hitting right now. So I'm not 100% sure what I want to do yet. We have no way of, there's no way of fitting that just like that. I don't even think going a little flatter with that is going to get us where we need to be. So we got two options. I can mount it maybe like that. I was just thinking, angle it just a little bit, just enough so we're not touching over there with the connector coming up for the TPS. And I believe throttle cable would be able to pull on that. The other option is to go this way, have the TPS connector going down, but I don't think that the cable would pull on that very well from here. Or I was thinking last night, just bite the bullet, cut out a little section here because it wouldn't take much. But while we're debating on that, I think we're going to tack this in place. And I'm not going to try and tack it on here like this because it'd be a real pain to hold it in place. So we're going to pop both of these off, go throw them on the bench, and we will tack here to here so that we got this 100% located where it's going to go. Let's see if we can't get this thing tacked on here. I've got it set on where I believe it needs to go. I'll show you in a bit, but the tubes change from round at the plenum to oval down here at the plate, where it connects to the head. So I cut it off at where it looked like the best spot. It was the most round without going all the way back to the plenum. They don't fit perfect, so we'll fix that. But first thing is we want to get this thing tacked in place so we don't keep moving it around and having to worry about where it is. Thought it would tack pretty easy, but it is not wanting to just tack in place. What the fuck? Holy crap, well that was a massive pain. I did not anticipate that. Tacking aluminum with TIG is not easy. So you can see, especially right here, this is a good example. When you go to heat the aluminum up, if it's not perfectly touching, which this stuff is not, we definitely got some random gaps just because of, you know, how I had to cut it, basically. I got it as good as I could, though. But anyways, aluminum, when you go to tack it like that, instead of fusing together like mild steel does, they like to spread apart. And you can see it did it right there. You know, that's just an example. That ain't the only spot that it did it. You know, that spot right there, I couldn't even get it to melt that side. You know, another spot there. But I got it so it's holding. It's holding for now. So the next step is to start actually welding it together. What I'm going to do, though, because we have, like I mentioned, we're going from kind of an oval shape down here. You know, these ports are not circular, to round up here. It doesn't fit up 100% perfect, so I'm going to take a hammer, tap all this down. It's just aluminum, so it should bend fairly easy, and we'll get that all those gaps closed up. But yeah, I really did not expect just doing a couple tacks to be that tough. But it definitely was not easy. All right, guys, after I showed you that last clip, I tried welding on one of these, and it went okay. You can see this is the first weld I did right here. It is certainly not perfect. And down here, I was definitely having issues of trying to get everything down in there because there's not a lot of room. So one thing, if I was to do this again, I think I would have cut everything off right at the plenum because I think that would have been easier to weld than on just the tube itself. But can't do anything about that now. So that was a few days ago. I have been working, you know, after work most nights on the car. I mean, I took a couple days off because I wanted to spend the whole day today not trying to rush, you know, more than just an hour or two of work to get this fully welded. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to re-clean this whole thing. Probably actually even get some of my powder coating back further from the joints, because it is pretty close now that I'm looking at it. We don't want that contamination, because with aluminum, any bit of contamination is going to screw you over. So I'm going to do that, and we are going to spend the rest of the day, or I guess as long as it takes, welding that together, and see how it goes. All right, so I got the bottom side welded here, and as much as I could do in between from this side, and some of these actually turned out really well. Like this one here, if you guys can see that one, like that turned out really well. Some of them did not turn out so well, like that one, and that one's really bad. I might grind that one down and re-weld it. But what I found is those areas where I tried to tack it together and just pulled apart, that's where my welds turned out the worst. And also just physically getting in between these runners is really hard to do to get a good weld. But when I'm out here where, you know, I got a nice view, nice reach with both hands, they welded really good. So I am honestly really happy with how they're turning out for somebody who has never TIG welded before and is doing aluminum for the first time. So we're going to continue on, though. I got the back side to do, or top side, I guess I should say. The side that you could kind of see, although it'll mostly be covered up. by, you know, fuel rail and stuff like that. So, but I'll bring you along now. I'll show you guys, you know, some of the welding, I guess. And one thing that I found is you really need to, especially with aluminum, supposedly you don't need to do it with mild steel and stainless, but you really need to wipe these down, even your filler rod, with acetone before you weld. And I can definitely tell it helps. Well, I got this thing all welded up, and it is certainly not perfect. We got some really good welds in some places, especially on the top side, like I kind of mentioned before, you know, where it's easy to get at. Some of them, not so great, but they will hold. Like, I'm really happy with that one. But it's really, really hard to get in between those tubes. I did find a couple ways. It's all about positioning, right? Because you got two hands, you got to get in there, and you got to be able to see, and it's tough. Aluminum's tough anyway, so I'm happy. I don't believe we're going to have any issues with leaks. I did grind some down. I did redo some. But we're good to go throw it on the car now and see what we can do about our throttle body. All right, with this exactly where it's going to be, we can figure out where we can mount our throttle body. So right there we're hitting. Throttle position sensor's hitting. If we get that over here, so if we get that over there 1/4 of an inch anyway, so we know it's not going to hit, it's too far off. There's no way we can make that work. So I need to decide, do we want to mount this like this? Or maybe this way, maybe 90 degrees, because we could do that. We'd have to remake our bracket here, so our throttle cable would pull more this way, because it's going to pull that way. I'm just not sure I like the look of that. The other option is to cut out or dent the inner fender here, which we're trying to avoid, but it might not be possible. Let me think on it a little bit. All right, I've made my decision. We are going to clearance the inner fender. It does not need that much to fit on there. It really does not. So we're going to first try a soft hammer, see what it does. If I need to cut, I'll cut. It would take 2 seconds to respray this in here and on the outside with some paint and some undercoating if we need to. So that's what we're going to do. I'm committing. Stop questioning it. Let's go. See, just like that. That already did a ton. Not quite there, though. Wish there wasn't this little... There's a tab here for mounting something. That makes it a little bit tougher to bend. That did a lot. A little bit more. We might not get quite enough with the hammer. I think we can make that work, though. I think that'll work. All right. She is pounded in. I don't really want to look and see what that paint looks like underneath there. We will eventually, but I'm hoping it flexed enough it didn't crack it, but we'll see. I need to take this back off, though, and clean up the powder coating on here, because I forgot to do that. We'll mark where this needs to go, and then we'll go weld it on the bench. Well, I got it all welded. Sorry, I didn't record any of it because I wanted to concentrate on getting this welded. I did have some struggles. I started on the bottom here and went around this way. Got some decent welds in places, but I had to max out my welder just to get it hot enough because this flange is like a ½ inch thick. And when I get up top here, which is really unfortunate because that's going to be the most visible, I don't know what happened, but it would not. Like the filler rod would melt before I even got it in there, so it was just getting hot and hot and hot and hot, and the filler rod would just melt before I even got it in there. I think I needed thicker filler rod. I only had 3/32. No, that's not even three. That's a 16th. Yeah, 16th. So I think that might have been a lot of the issue, but I got it going again. It is solid. I also think I got some contamination in it because the welds don't look perfect. They got, I don't know, they kind of look porous, but that also could have been just from getting it way too hot. But it will hold. It might even not leak. So we can go throw it in the car real quick, and we're just about done with this project. Before we go throw that throttle body on there, let's peel our tape off and see just how much damage we did to the paint. Ooh. That's actually looking good. Way better than I anticipated. I don't see anything. It didn't crack at all right there. The only thing, it separated a little bit around my seam sealer right there. But I'm fine with that. Way better than I anticipated. I thought this was going to be all cracked up and falling off. Alright, let's throw the throttle body on. Well, there we go. It's all back together. We got enough clearance for now, I think. I might have to tap that down a little bit more. But it is in there. Our intake manifold is solid. It's not going anywhere. I will have to pressure test it at some point, make sure we don't get any leaks. But we are essentially done. So what I'm going to do now, since I'd like to eventually re-powder coat that, it's not going to happen right now though. So what I'm thinking is just rattle can that real quick with some wrinkle black or maybe some wrinkle red. I had originally painted these valve covers just with a rattle can red because the car was red. It was going to stay rattle can red for a while. And I didn't want them they were nasty, nasty, nasty. I cleaned them up and threw some, rattle can red on there. However, when I decided I was painting the car white, I figured I'd paint the valve covers white. But I actually like how they look in red. So I'm thinking maybe do those and the intake manifold in wrinkle red. That doing a wrinkle, it's a little more durable and it'll help hide some of the imperfections in my welds a little bit, because it won't be a perfectly smooth surface everywhere. I think that might look good. I don't know. I'll decide. I'll probably either do wrinkle red or wrinkle black. Let me know what you guys think, though. I think adding some red accents, though, will, here and there, like this under the hood, would make it look really nice. I'm thinking about painting the brake calipers red when I get those on. Was originally thinking white, but I think that having a couple red accents here and there will look really nice and allow me to have the red that I like. Ideally, I probably would have painted this car red if I did it exactly how I wanted. This wasn't my first paint job. I wasn't worried about, using up expensive paint and stuff like that. So this will allow me to, or that would allow me to keep some red stuff on the car. So I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards painting both of those wrinkle red. I think that'll look kind of cool. Probably leave the fuel rail black, but that could always be changed in the future. But yeah, so anyways, I am really happy with how this turned out. Don't forget, this is literally the first project I've ever done TIG welding. It's aluminum. It is not perfectly fit. The fitments weren't perfect. It was dirty. I had to clean it off. It's not like I'm working with nice, fresh aluminum like what we're working on over here that fit up perfectly. And the welds, they're all easy to get at. Welds came out really, really nice. It is so much harder when you have to actually work around things. The positioning of getting both hands in there and still being able to see, it's just so much harder. It's going to take a lot of practice to get welds looking as good as they should. But I'm not going to get there unless I keep trying. So I'm happy enough with that for now. Oh, one other thing I might as well show you guys while I'm here. I grabbed a aluminum elbow for the to weld onto the outlet of the turbo, and I grabbed the tightest radius I could find right here. It's a pretty cheap piece, only like 20 bucks, and we put that on there. Plenty of room. I can even, if I feel like it, shave this back some or this some to move the elbow even closer. But I think we got plenty of room. Send the pipes forward here, out through here to the intercooler. Pretty simple routing, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like, I did get a quote for somebody to weld this on for me. It told me about $100 just to weld that flange back on, which isn't bad. I guarantee it would have come out better than I did, but I'm happy that I did it myself. Went through all the frustration, but got it done. So can only move forward from here. It's just my TIG welding skills are just going to keep getting better if I keep doing it. We can move forward though. That was a big project that I did not anticipate having to do once we dropped everything in and saw that that didn't fit. So I'm really happy with how it turned out, but that'll probably do it for this video. Not sure what I'm going to do next. We got a lot of stuff to do. I kind of just got to decide and pick something. Yeah, but the 280Z is moving forward. Leave me some comments, as usual, all that stuff. Like the video, hit subscribe if you haven't. You know, go to pick up some t-shirts, subscribe to my Patreon, whatever you guys want to do. And I'll see you guys in the next video.